come out, the light come back further, cool down. Thank you. Well, who wants to talk first?
Who will be talking first?
I will.
Okay. When you're done talking and we're going to her, will you give me a moment to switch over to a shorter one so I can put the mic in front of her?
Yes. Hello. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're here today. It's actually, for us anyway, it's a celebratory occasion. It's an occasion that we didn't know a week ago, 10 days ago, that we'd have. The nation is in a storm. Our nation, our county, this city is in a storm. And this is the silver lining on that storm cloud right now. Ms. Furcron is here despite being shot in the forehead with a metal projectile. Ms. Furcron is here despite having her skull fractured by the La Mesa Police Department. Ms. Furcron is here despite having to be life flighted from Grossmont to Sharp Memorial. Ms. Furcron is here despite having been in ICU for a week. Ms. Furcron is here despite having been intubated, unable to talk, unable to communicate. Ms. Furcron is here despite she can barely walk. The energy, the strength that it takes to walk is very hard for her. Ms. Furcron is here despite the fact that she cannot see out of her left eye. She has no vision. So for us, this is a happy occasion. This is an exciting occasion. And we are here to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There have been thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have come out to show their support for Ms. Furcron. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have come out and said, this should not happen anywhere in our country. So for those people, we thank you. Also, to the city of La Mesa, when we came out here initially, our ire, our angst was turned at both the city of La Mesa and the La Mesa Police Department. Having attended virtually the city council meeting yesterday, I've learned that it's not the city of La Mesa that is hiding the ball here. It is the La Mesa Police Department. And this is yet another example of why we need change, why we need something different. The La Mesa Police Chief said to the city council, I refuse to tell you the name of the officer involved. Despite SB 1421, despite the calls for the community to know who this person is, I refuse to tell you who it is. I refuse to let the community know if this person is still policing our streets, is still armed with the weapon, and could potentially do this again. So you see, we were upset with the city of La Mesa, but now we understand that even the city of La Mesa is being held hostage by the La Mesa Police Department. This needs to change. We can't have investigations where one party can control the entire narrative. La Mesa Police Department released a timeline, a self-serving timeline of events to try and insinuate that there was something, anything that Ms. Furcron could have done that should have resulted in the injuries that she suffered. We are here to say that is not the case. There is nothing she could have done. There is nothing on camera anywhere that will show that she made an officer of La Mesa Police Department either fear for their life or injured them. That is not what's going to be shown. Also, in that self-serving timeline of events, there's no indication as to who that watch commander was that allowed them to start firing these bullets and these tear gas bombs. There's no indication as to how many times these things were actually fired. So you see, all we have is La Mesa Police Department holding all the cards and not showing them to anyone. And that is what we are fighting for. That is what Black Lives Matter means. We don't have to justify the use of force upon our bodies. It is the police who must justify that force. And so far, they are not doing that. Ms. Furcon wants to speak very briefly. As you saw her walk up, she's very weak, but she does want to say something to everyone who's stepped out and supported her, so I'm gonna let her speak right now.
You guys hold up a second.
Yeah.
She can stay right there. I'll come right over to her. Yes. I'm moving it to a smaller stand.
I'm gonna hold on to this.
Yeah,
while
you got it?
Yeah,
Go ahead and
I
try
got
to lift it up. See if it's enough yet. There we go. Hold on a second. No long. Excuse me. Okay, straight
it. Is
down.
that where it sits?
That's where it sits.
Does it? It doesn't tighten. You
It
have
does.
this thing. Okay, cool.
Tense.
Yeah.
You got a good grip on the podium? There we go. How's that? Stay?
It's still wobbly, but I think it'll work for us now.
Okay.
And before Ms. Furcon speaks, I just want to make it known that this is her support system here. This is her family. This is the family that everyone who called in to support, these are the people that you're helping. These are the people that love her and are going to be here for her for the rest of her life while she heals from this incident.
Where do I talk at?
You just talk like you're talking right now, man. That's fine.
My name is Leslie Furcon, and first and foremost, I need to just thank God for still being here. And I want to thank all of Grossmont, Sharks Memorial Trauma Team. I know Kevy and Peter for sure, all the nurses, all of everyone that was instrumental in me getting to where I needed to get. I am now, my life, I'm a mother. I have 4 children, three living, a grandmother of 13. I'm a productive member of society. I go to San Diego City College. That's changed. Working on a bachelor's degree as a social service worker. I'm also a woman in recovery, productive member of society. I'm a law-abiding citizen. And I never had came out here that night for this to be a part of my story. And I just want to say thank you. I want to thank my family. Thank all those that are instrumental in helping me right now. That's all.
Ms. Furcon, how are you feeling?
I'm very, very weak. It takes a lot out of me to put on a pair of brassiere. I have to have help. I've also have a job as an IHS care provider, but now I'm gonna be a person that has to have the help of being cared for. Yeah, I get weak. It takes me a minute. If I gotta be somewhere at 9, I know I probably need to get up by 6 to be there by 9. But this was not what I live here in La Mesa. I've been here living in La Mesa Lemon Grove, La Mesa for 3 years now. Like I said, I've been going to school since 2014. I've taken care of my mom. My mom suffers from paralysis on her right side. I'm a mother and my grandmother. My grandchildren call me G-Mom. That's my main interest. I'm a God-serving person. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I'm also a new great-grandmother.
All right. So we're not going to let Ms. Furcron answer any more questions right now. If you have questions, I can answer them. Ms. Furcron is going to go back to her vehicle right now because it is, as you can tell, it's very trying for her to get there, get back, and the energy that it takes is going to deplete her. So if there are questions, I can answer them. But as of now, you want to help her?
Is the family planning any type of legal action going forward?
Absolutely. The La Mesa Police Department should be held liable for the damage that they caused. You all can see that Ms. Furcron now has a lifelong of recovery to deal with, and she should be remunerated for that. There was no justification for that amount of force to be used upon her. Can you walk to the side? Because she has a problem seeing. You can't see out of her left eye. Her depth perception is off a little bit. I'll come back.
Need some help again?
Yeah, will you hold on to the
What am I holding on?
the actual
This one?
Yeah,
Okay.
podium. Like, unscrew it a little bit. And you're gonna even like lift it up a little bit. Okay, it's off.
I gotta come out longer, right?
Yeah.
More. Just want to go easier for you.
Is it finger? Can you do by
Nope.
finger? Go ahead and put it on there, and we'll.
From her account, can you tell us kind of what happened on her end?
On her end, from her position, she, at the time that she was shot, she had just called the police murderers. She said, "You guys are murderers." And then subsequent to that, in the video, you can hear the shot, and then you can see the impact.
Do you believe, and I know it's early, but do you believe that the officer, whether it was a deputy or a Mesa police officer that fired that beanbag round, that they did so intentionally to strike her in the head?
Absolutely. And I believe the Mesa Police Department has admitted, by their self-serving timeline, they've admitted that that officer fired in retaliation for what he thought was Ms. Furcron throwing an object. Whether or not she threw an object, we don't know. Whether or not that object impacted an officer, whether or not that object was going in the direction of the officer, whether or not the officer who was closest to the object felt a fear for his life. We don't know any of that yet because the timeline that was presented is self-serving and only one-sided.
Dante, have you been able to talk to her about that? You know, like whether or not, you know, she threw an object or not. Obviously, you know, a lot of people agree that, you know, unless you're a threat, you know, it's really
Right.
kind of an intense thing to be shot in the forehead. But
Right.
I wonder if you've been able to talk to her about that at this point.
So I have talked to her about the night. As you can imagine, she can't remember every detail. She can no longer remember. Hopefully that memory will come back over time as she's able to watch these things, as the brain swelling comes down. Hopefully these memory receptors will be. However, I have talked to at least 5 witnesses who have all said Ms. Furcron was drinking a drink and she threw it at the ground. She littered. As you all saw, she's a 59-year-old woman. There's no way she had strength or power enough to throw a can from where she was hit all the way to where the officers were. So the information we have as of now is that she threw a can on the ground, and in retaliation for that, that is when the La Mesa Police Department officer targeted and shot her in the face.
You said you talked to the mayor. What does the mayor tell you he's going to do?
Well,
Talk to the mayor?
I haven't talked to the mayor. What I meant when I said that I don't think it's the city of La Mesa is that I did watch their city council meeting yesterday, and various members of the city council, specifically I remember Dr. Weber, asked for the identity of the officer. She said her constituents wanted to know. She said she was getting calls from the people that voted for her for the name of the officer. They want to know if this officer is on the force, still armed, and the police chief said no. No, he's not going to tell him. He's going to do an investigation on his own, and that's the problem. That's the problem with these investigations.
I guess my question is, are you going to pick up the phone and try to reach the mayor? Or
Yeah, so
someone directly?
my office has called the mayor's office multiple times. I haven't received a call back yet. I hope now I'll receive a call back, now that maybe the mayor knows that our ire is not directly at the city of La Mesa, but more so at the La Mesa Police Department. Hopefully I get a call back, but I have not received a call back yet.
In terms of what's next, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit, but are you going to wait until the investigation is complete, or can you talk about, you mentioned legal action, you know, what's
Right.
next? You know, they're not releasing officers' names, they're not really being clear about whether it's on the force or not.
So my office has already filed the Freedom of Information Act request. We believe that the officer's name is not private. Name and badge number should not be private ever from the public. So we've filed that request. Should the city of La Mesa not honor that request, we will move forward with a injunction in the court and go that way. And then as far as the civil case for Ms. Furcron, we're going to wait a little bit longer until we kind of get a full picture of what that recovery is going to look like. We do know it's going to be lifelong. We do know the fractures in her skull are still healing. We do know that, well, I'm not going to say that part, but so, yeah, we're going to wait until we kind of get a grasp on what's going on.
What did you request for in that FOIA? I'm just curious. You know.
In the FOIA request, we requested to know the officer's name who fired that shot, the officers who were on the mezzanine that night firing shots, and how many, we may have asked how many shots were fired, but we definitely asked for every officer who was there and every officer who fired their weapon that night.
Can you spell your first and your last name and state it for us, please?
Dante Pride, D-A-N-T-E-P-R-I-D-E.
As far as the projectile, have you guys recovered it? Do you know exactly what it was?
Yes, we recovered the projectile. The projectile is basically a flying blackjack. So blackjack was outlawed in California years ago because of the gruesome nature of what it is. It was basically a sack with lead pellets in it that officers would use to hit people on the head. It was outlawed, and now they're using that same technology in the beanbag. So the beanbag is a sack, a canvas sack filled with lead buckshot.
So it's what the police call a beanbag or a rubber bullet? What in
So-
police terms, what would it be?
Police have different nomenclature for their munitions. I think sometimes the public is getting lost in the idea that these are rubber bullets. no rubber bullets were fired in this instance, and that on that date, they were all metal projectile beanbags.
Do we know how far away she was standing?
We don't know exactly how far away she was standing as of yet, but I would venture to say that she was too close for them to use that round if it sticks in your forehead.
Needless to say, you think to a civil case is for sure coming. It's just a matter of when it's coming.
Absolutely. There is no reason why Ms. Furcron should have to shoulder the burden of these injuries of no fault of her own by herself.
Where was she exactly when this happened? What was the location?
She was in the northeast side of the parking lot, just underneath the City of La Mesa sign, leaving the parking lot. All accounts she was leaving. I've seen video. It was quiet in the area, and you can actually hear the shot, and then you hear the tremendous uproar afterwards.
What's the name of your law firm or what law firm?
The Pride Law Firm. The Pride Law Firm.
I know it's been a little over a week since the incident happened. What happened after the incident up until now? Was she in the hospital? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when she was initially struck, she was taken to Grossmont Hospital by some amazing bystanders, some amazing guardian angels. I want to say she told me those people are her guardian angels. Thank you very much. She was taken to the Grossmont Hospital. When she arrived at the hospital, they realized they didn't have the facilities to deal with such a horrific injury. So they sent the helicopter over from Sharp. She was life flighted to Sharp. She was put into a medically induced coma due to the fractures and the swelling. She was in that coma for 3 or 4 days. Then she came out of the coma. They did a surgery on her forehead to try and close the wound. And then she was in ICU for a couple more days after that. Then I believe this weekend she was downgraded to a normal room. However, she still doesn't have sight or vision in her left eye. And then she was released 2 days ago.
When you say she shouldn't have to have that burden, you're talking about expected high medical bill costs. Do you have any idea of what you're expecting?
Absolutely. Medical bill costs in America are very expensive, as we all know. And she was in the ICU for a week. So we expect that these medical bills will be quite large.
And then beyond the medical bills, I mean, are you calling for a third-party independent investigation, or what else do you want to come out of this so they're on chain?
Absolutely. So what I'm hoping that happens here is that our politicians, our people in the state, in the county, in the city, they see what's going on here and they say, hey, we can't have this. We have to have accountability, and we have to have transparency. We have to know who these police are, what they're doing, and we have to know now. And I'm hoping that today, seeing Ms. Furcron here, these legislators will step up and do the right thing. I can only do so much as of her attorney. I've already filed the FOIA request. We made a petition for her yesterday. We have thousands of signatures asking that this name be released so that we can all be involved in this investigation, because this type of force is just not appropriate.
From an emotional standpoint, how's she doing? Is she angry?
She is hurt. She is hurt. She is hurt. She is sad. She has her own history of dealing with the police, as most African Americans in this country have, me, myself included. She has her own issues in dealing with that, and now she's hurt. She is hurt. She is broken, but we are here to support her, and we will usher her back to health.
Is she a City of San Diego resident?
She, as of now, I believe she lives on the border of Lemon Grove and La Mesa. Her house is not far from here, almost walking distance.
So is she in Lemon Grove, or is she in La Mesa, do you know? Or?
I'm uncertain. I don't know the map, how it's broken down.
Can you say the specific, this is not antagonistic, can you say the specific advantage of knowing the officer's name? Or,
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess what would knowing that name enable to happen that's not happening?
Knowing the officer's name would enable the community to know what's going on with that officer. It would also allow us to start an investigation to see if this specific officer has other issues of use of force that we don't know about right now. We can't do any of that because we don't know the name. Also, by not telling us his name, what La Mesa Police Department is doing is allowing this officer to go and talk to people, to go get a story together. They can make up a new story, a new timeline of events, and all these things we don't want to happen, and we want to know this person's name immediately. That's why. Thank you.